Excuse me. All right, it's top of the hour, so let's get to it. Thank you for joining me for Monday's Burst of Innovation. And thank you for starting May with me, the week with me. It's exciting to see you all here. I'm excited to extend these 10-minute burst of innovations. I think, as I told you in one of the webcasts last week, this was something that I intended to do for 3 weeks, but the demand has been so great that I'm just going to keep doing them and doing them. I'd love to get your feedback. I might go down to 2 days a week just to make it a little bit more manageable as we move forward, but I definitely want to keep doing them. But you got to tell me if you're getting value out of them, if you want them 2 days a week, 3 days a week. I'd love to connect and kind of understand. So you can just stick it in the chat bar or you can email me, whatever works for you, but I'd love to know because I would love to keep these going. The response I've been getting is overwhelming in terms of value. So I want to keep that up. And as you know, sometimes we do more, here's an exercise specifically thing. Sometimes we do more mindset things. Today, I actually want to talk about progress versus perfection and why 80% is actually more than good enough. And I want to share with you why perfection gets in our way. Because I think we hear that. I think we kind of intellectually get that concept. But I want to break it down and make it tangible and real as to why it's actually a problem and why it's hindering your success. I think that's both personally in your career and professionally in the work that you do, whether that's internal work or products and services that go out to the marketplace. So I want to talk about that. There's about 4 in there, I think. And then I want to share how to overcome that and how to overcome that perfection mindset, both internally for yourself and for the work that you do and the teams that you lead and the people inside your organization. Because perfection is actually one of those things that gets us both internally and externally. Sometimes it's how we operate, and other times it's the environment that we're in or how we've set things up. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but what I've seen for myself and for the clients that I've worked with is that oftentimes that perfection actually comes out of a fear of failure as well, right? A fear of being wrong. So I want to share a personal story with you that I actually dig into in my book as well in a lot more detail. But let me share the high level. It happened to me when I was going to college. And I think to me, it always stuck with me because it was such a great example of how that need for perfection, that need to be right, actually works against you. So after high school, so I got into UC Berkeley, and I, for whatever reason, didn't believe that I belonged. I was sure that they had made a huge mistake, that there was a different Tamara Gondor that letter was supposed to go to, and which is ridiculous. That's not a common name, right? So, but that's what I thought. And one of my very first classes that I took was an anthropology class. And that class had like 500 people in it. So we also had these breakout classes that grad students would lead where they'd assign homework and then we'd come back and we discuss like a chapter at a time. So we go to the grad class and for anthropology, and the grad student assigns me the task of reading this excerpt and then coming back and actually leading the discussion and what I thought about it. And I was so nervous. I went back to my dorm room and I was sweating it out. And this was like the first month of school at most. And by the way, as I'm telling you this story, I want you to think about this experience as what happens in the workplace too, because I'm sharing a college story, but you could insert conference room, team meeting with what I'm saying, and it's still going to be the same thing. So I'm at my dorm, I'm panicking, I'm reading what is a very basic chapter that basically is about global cultures and the differences that we all have. And I'm trying to find the right answer. And I'm so wrapped up in trying to look smart and right and perfect, having my answer be flawless in its execution, that I second guess myself all along the way. And after hours of debating with myself, I come up with the answer that I think is going to be the perfect answer, the right answer, the answer that makes me look smart, the flawless answer. So I go back and I share my answer. And my answer is basically what I said, and it makes no sense looking back, was that basically at the end of the day, all the global cultures are the same. Ridiculous. First of all, I know that not to be true. I am multicultural. I know that not to be true because I interact with people of different cultures, but I didn't think that my initial answer could possibly be good enough. So I kept going, trying to get to perfection, and I got it horribly wrong. And the TA looked at me, the grad student, like I was crazy, and all the other students looked at me like, what are you doing here? And I was horrified and I almost cried walking back to my dorm room. But the thing that I want you to take from that story is it wasn't that I was not smart enough or didn't actually have a good enough answer at some point in my head. It's that I was so busy trying to be perfect and right that I overjudged, I overanalyzed, I spent too much time, which took me down a spiral of overthinking. That's what we do in our work in our life too when we strive on perfection. So I want to dig a little bit even deeper into perfection and why it's actually a challenge. And I'm going to do that with sharing my screen and a little bit of some janky slides that I put together for you. Okay. Oh, this is just to say, by the way, if you haven't yet bought your book, please do. Official launch day with Amazon is Tuesday, which means all pre-orders count. But more importantly, as I said on our book launch party on Friday, which I know a lot of you were at, thank you, thank you. It was so awesome to connect with everybody and share all the value. I'll do a free Q&A session with your team if you buy team copies. It's that simple. Okay, let's get to why perfection is a problem. And I think you'll see this in your companies. Number one, perfection equals judgment, and judgment way too soon. And when you start to judge, right, you break the innovation flow. You can't innovate when you're over there judging. And that need to get to perfection is what does it. So we need to give ourselves a break from judging. Number two, perfection equals ideas stay in the conference room, and then that equals competition getting to market faster. And now this can also apply to not just ideas that are like products and services that you're putting out or however you're packaging your stuff. This can also apply to internal processes as well, right? So you don't get it out there fast enough. I can't tell you the number of consumer packaged good companies I've worked with where the conversation has been XYZ competition has put something in the marketplace, they're taking our market share, and then someone in the room will say, we had a similar idea to this 3 years ago, but we didn't think it was good enough to launch. Do you see how that changed the conversation? Now, instead of having a conversation about how to improve it, how to hit milestones, how to make it better, we're having a conversation about how to catch up with somebody else because somebody else wasn't stuck in perfection. All right, number three, perfection equals too much time. And that equals irrelevancy as the world around you moves on. I had a colleague once who really wanted to launch this digital product. It was phenomenal for the time. But what did they do? They waited to make it better. They kept tweaking it. They kept adjusting. They just kept at it. By the time they launched it, the technology had moved on. So their technology actually was irrelevant. I'm going to give you a really random example from Instagram, which I happen to spend a little too much time on. So Instagram there's this one company out there called, I think it's Like to Know It. Sorry guys, I'm going to throw you under the bus. They have an app that, like, if you liked one of their posts, you take a screenshot of that post and then you go to their app and that screenshot then takes you to the product. So the reason I mention that, because it sounds really cool, is in the meantime, well, they've created this whole thing where you have to take a screenshot and go over to the app. Instagram has changed their technology so that you can actually just shop right from posts online. So their need to perfect their platform meant that Instagram has moved on. So now I won't shop from them because other people are just easier to shop from because the technology has moved on. The world around them has moved on. This is absolutely true for internal as well. When we try to launch new processes, new procedures, by the time we get to it, the world has moved on. The technology has changed. The expectations of the organization and people have changed. It's not just about technology. It's also very much about people's consumers and customers' expectations, your leaders' expectations. So perfection can equal spending way too much time on something, and then the world around you moves and you're left behind, and now you've got to catch up. The fourth one is, and this one I think is really important, is perfection equals false positives. And what I mean by that is we spend so much time trying to perfect something that we get it wrong at launch because we did not battle test it. Things that are perfect in the conference room and in our head are never perfect in the real world. I think it was Mike Tyson who has my favorite quote, which is, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Well, perfection is that plan that never ends. And on paper, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That looks good. That's right. But if you don't launch whatever it is, you never really know because you don't have that battle testing to prove it. So these four is, I think, why perfection really is the enemy of innovation. It's the enemy of progress. So let me talk about what you can do to overcome these. Okay, so number one, set the 80% expectations and parking lot. And by the way, this is a slide you're going to want to take a screenshot of, okay? Because this is where it's at. And if you want the last one, just let me know and I'll bounce back. So what I mean by that is tell the team, this is what we're going for. And then have a parking lot. So this to me is the key in this one. It's not just about setting expectations like we're going to do good enough. It's also letting your people know, here's a parking lot for all those things that you see that you want to get to, because our little chatter, our lizard brain goes, here's what's wrong with it. Here's what's not right. Here's what's not working. Great. Give people an outlet for that, and they will go along with 80% in making progress, but they need a parking lot to do that. Number two, innovate, then analyze. So I think I've talked about this a number of times with all of you, so I won't go into depth. Give your team and yourself permission to innovate and then do the judging. You can't do them at the same time. The third one is strive and measure positive progress, not right perfection. What I mean by that is set up measurements, set up the expectation of progress, that things get better, improve, find an opportunity, not that you got it right. They're very different. Number three, build innovation cycles and milestones. I do this with clients all the time where we create these 6-week cycles of innovation and these milestones that we're trying to reach. What that forces us to do is not get stuck in perfection, work towards progress, and that positive progress that's showing that, hey, we have a 1% uptick in positive feedback. Hey, this works 10% better, right? Progress just for progress sake isn't enough. It has to be in the right direction. We do a lot of work with clients in this side, and it is phenomenal to see what we can get done and how much better and more innovative and meaningful the ideas and solutions are in the back end when we do them in innovation cycles. Okay, number fifth one, celebrate the 80% wins. Celebrate when people make progress. Celebrate when people get stuff out there. Okay, is that it? That is it. Okay, so that is Monday's challenge to all of us, which is to not get stuck in perfection, but really think about how to make progress. If anyone needs a screenshot of those slides and didn't get it, let me know and I'll go back. I hope that you have a different view on how to get out of perfection and into progress. Progress fosters innovation. Perfection is the enemy of it, and it's the enemy of speed. And here's the last thing I'll say to all of us, just to put it into context of where we are now. We have more permission than we've ever had to make changes and make mistakes. And I don't mean that to be lazy. I mean that because it is important that we recognize that we have permission to shift and move and adjust, or as Anthony said on Friday, to run. So run, go, make progress. Don't let perfection hold you back. Okay, yes, people want screenshots. Let me go back. Hold on one second. Ooh, wrong screen. Let me do that. Okay, I'll do both just so you have them both. Let me do this one. Oh, God, sorry. Woo, tech fail. Screenshot. Let me get you this. Okay, here's this one. This is why it's a problem. And by the way, this is a great, if you're taking a screenshot of this, this is a great picture to show your team about why perfection, because there's a lot of people who struggle with this, right? Perfection is a fallback for a lot of people. But if you show them this of why it's a challenge, they're more open to moving to a progress mindset. Okay, and then here's the second one. Hopefully that got you what you needed. And again, if you missed any more, please let me know. Yeah, Kirby says, as an engineer, we strive for the perfect. Yeah, so things like this are always good. Giving permission allows someone to get it done rather than sitting there paralysis by analysis. Yeah, exactly. Analysis paralysis is real. And perfection, you know, we want it to be good. This is not a conversation about being lazy or being complacent, but we got to make progress. And hopefully you can see in this conversation that not only do we want to make progress and not get stuck in analysis paralysis, which is so paralyzing for so many people, we want it to be the right solution, the right idea on the back end. It can't be if we're stuck in paralysis and we're stuck in perfection, because we actually don't have the opportunity to bring the good ideas forward. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Hopefully you got the screenshots you wanted. Just shoot me an email if you didn't. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for starting the week. Again, please give me feedback on kind of days and weeks and the 10-minute burst, because we're at a point where I've got to figure back. Oh, please go back a slide. Yep. I've got to figure out. Hopefully you got number 5 on that too. I'm going to not go further. Yep. I'm going back a slide. Hold up. There you go. Emily, that's for you. I think that's what you needed. Hopefully you got all the 80% wins too on that. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. He says, great job. Thank you. I strive to give you guys great content. And do I always get it right? No. And I think we can all say by my slides that sometimes they're not perfect and they have mistakes on them. Oh, there's a 5th on there. Sorry, I kept missing that one. Yeah. All right. There you go. That's the last slide for screenshots. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you Wednesday.